Hello YouTube and Patreon, this is Nathan P. Butler, and this is our project update for the month of November 2022. First of all, happy Thanksgiving to those who are in the US. We are coming up on the holiday here in the next week or so. We are officially on Thanksgiving break for me right now, which basically means a combination of some board game type stuff when I get the opportunity, a whole lot of cleaning and sorting, mostly to make room for putting board game stuff away, and having a place to put it other than, the floor under some tables or something like that. And maybe a little God of War Ragnarok. I really don't know. And lots of potty training type stuff, because boy, that's difficult to do when you have no experience with that sort of thing. And that is for my son, not for me. I am potty trained with the best of them. I would assume, though maybe the best of them have like some archery contest when they go to the bat. You know what? That's not a thing to even get into. So let's see what has come out since the last of these updates, which was put up on October 23rd. So we're almost at exactly a month here. This is a little bit earlier in the month, a few days at least earlier in the month that I usually would do this, just because of the holiday and everything else and trying to get it done on a weekend here, when time permits. So, first let me thank all of you who are backers over there on Patreon. That, of course, is patreon.com/NathanPButler. That Patreon, again, will continue for a little while. It will be wrapping up and closing down once we get to the point where those who were backers or supporters during May have been billed, basically, for their May access at the beginning of June. After that happens, the Patreon will be being shut down, as I have said previously. Just a reminder to anyone who is thinking about jumping in over there. Its lifespan is short, but there is still new content coming over there. So first, let me thank those who are travelers through the Butler universe. These are folks who are at the $1 tier over there. They get the thanks in videos like these. And if there is ever another edition of a Saga on Home video, or like a supplemental book to go with the 3 that's out there or something like that, that is where they will also find themselves thanked in the Patreon credits. So let me thank David Bittner, John Sullivan, Kai Jacoby, Story Mode, Travis Cook, Jeremy Goss, Ben Abrams, Jacob Kapoor, Tony Jenkins, Kevin Kriener, and Austin Pierce. Then let me thank those who are members of the Denizens of the Butler universe. That's the $5 tier, who get what the other tier got, but also get access to those audio commentaries. The Clone Wars is almost done. Forces of Destiny is already done. We'll talk more about all that here in just a moment. But they include Mark D., Thomas Navin, Zach Whitbeck, Charles Rowe, Jeff Rabjohns, Matt DeRocher, Walker Langstrat, Kyle Pellegrini, Joey Zitzman, Stephen Malicia, Robert Medina, Jeremiah Mustard, and Jaina Keller. And then finally, we have the Nobility of the Butler universe, who get what the other 2 tiers got, but also get access to that exclusive Q&A video each month. This includes Connor Steyerman, Matthew Hardesty, Ennis, Big Mac Davis, Jonathan Converse, Sam Howard, Andrew Bettis, and Benjamin Handelman. We'll start with the new stuff coming out through Patreon. That is a pretty regularly scheduled thing to expect. 1 Q&A video each month for those who are members of the Nobility, and for the Nobility and for the Denizens, those top 2 tiers, 2 commentaries per month at least, primarily for the Clone Wars, as has been the case for a while. So on November 1st, we had the commentary for the episode of Clone Wars Deal No Deal from the Ahsoka's Walkabout arc. And on November 15, Dangerous Debt, also part of that same arc. We also had the Nobility of the Butler universe Q&A number 59 get released on November 12. Now, to look ahead to what's coming, of course, there will be monthly Q&A episodes through the beginning of May 2023. The last questions will be collected in April, and then May will be the last of the videos. So we have a few of those still left to go. As far as commentaries go, all the ones for Clone Wars have been recorded, edited. They are ready to roll at this point. So just to give you a sense of when those are all coming out again, December 1st will be Together Again. December 15, The Bad Batch, kicking off that second chronological arc of Season 7 of Clone Wars. On January 1st, A Distant Echo. January 15, On the Wings of Kiridax. February 1st, Unfinished Business. And that will then take us into the final arc, starting on February 15, with Old Friends Not Forgotten, March 1st with The Phantom Apprentice, March 15 with Shattered, and then finally April 1st, yes, April Fool's Day, with Victory and Death. And the idea is that I want to give everybody at least, about a month or 2, if they are going to jump in and download all the commentaries for the Clone Wars, that they have a chance to do that for that little window there, at least a couple of months or so. So again, April 1st is the last of the Clone Wars commentaries. April 15th will not have one, May 1st will not have one, May 15th, and so on. That's the last of the commentaries there on April 1st for Clone Wars. But then someone would be able to download those all the way up through being a member through May. And then again, the May cycle will build at the beginning of June, and then the Patreon itself will be shut down. So you have about 2 months after the release of the final commentary on April 1st to be able to jump in at that $5 or $10 tier, get all of those, and be good to go, because they will not be available at all once the Patreon itself closes. As for these videos, my guess is the last of these that is actually a regular monthly video will probably be in June of 2023, because I'm thinking in terms of people who might jump in after I do the one in May, who would still need to get thanked at some point in one of the videos when everything shuts down in early June. So I figure I'll make a list kind of early June, make sure I've got everybody before everything shuts down, and then keep that in mind to be able to address and finally thank those people one last time in that late June project update. Then the project updates can continue, but not necessarily on a monthly basis, maybe bi-monthly, maybe every 3 months, maybe just whenever it seems like there is a need to actually address what has come out, because lately there hasn't been a whole lot of stuff. Speaking of which, most of the stuff, of course, is coming here through YouTube, and we didn't really have a whole lot of new content this time around. We only really had 4 videos go up. It's been a busy time, end of semester stuff, crazy town. So on October 29th, we had a new episode of From the Star Wars Home Video Library here on YouTube. That was episode number 460, which looked at 4 UK video store screener VHS cassettes. 3 for behind-the-scenes stuff, 1 for Ewoks The Battle for Endor, all coming from the same source. Had a chance to look at that and kind of compare them to the original versions of them. And there were 2 different Q&A style videos released since the last of these. We had mini Q&A number 19, which is not Star Wars Home Video topics. That released on November 2nd. Along with that, we had From the Star Wars Home Video Library Q&A number 11, released the same day. That is Star Wars Home Video type questions. As always with those, if you want to ask questions, it'll be in the next Q&A for either From the Star Wars Home Video Library or the mini Q&A. You want to put those questions in the comments of whatever the current one is. So in this case, it's mini Q&A 19, From the Star Wars Home Video Library Q&A number 11. Put questions on those if you want me to use them for mini Q&A 20 or From the Star Wars Home Video Library Q&A number 12. That is the current ones as of right now. And then the last new video that was released, not Star Wars related at all, that was a look at the Final Girl Solitaire tabletop game. Whereas in the past I'd done an extensive content overview video for all of the stuff from Series 1 or Season 1 back in the day. The Series 2 Kickstarter has now started fulfilling its first wave of material, which is primarily for Series 1, just more stuff. So I took the time to break down all the components of that, all the new stuff for Wave 1 from Series 2. I'll be doing the same thing when Wave 2 comes with the actual new Series 2 content, and then hopefully, crossing my fingers, eventually when they do like a Series 3, I'll be covering that as well. One of my absolute favorite tabletop games. It is a solo-only game, though. Again, Final Girl is what it's called. Very quickly, as to what is coming soon otherwise for both Patreon and for YouTube, the 2 primary venues here. So I'm hoping during this break to finally get a chance to sit down and get notes together for Visions Series 1 or Season 1, Volume 1, whatever they're calling it at this point. I'm not terribly excited to do those commentaries because anime is not really my thing, but I feel like that gives a different perspective on this from a Star Wars standpoint to do those commentaries, and I said I would do them, so I'm going to do them. I made that promise, I think, before I had decided on when the Patreon was going to be ending, because I wanted to give you guys some more bonus content here near the end, or right around the time I was considering the Patreon ending. So my plan is still to record those. None are recorded yet, because I need to get the notes, because unfortunately, the first freaking episode is the one with the most backstory and whatnot that needs to be in my notes from the Ronin novel or from that one-shot comic that came out. So I will be getting those notes hopefully during this break so that after the break I can start recording those. I do not know when I'll be releasing them once I do record them, but whatever schedule they're released on, I still plan on having them done prior to April 1st when the Clone Wars is done. So the Clone Wars can be the last one. As far as From the Star Wars Home Video Library goes, don't really have a whole lot of stuff to show right now. I need to go through and watch some of these old documentaries that, are somewhat tangentially related to Star Wars, some of these parodies, just to get notes and get information to be able to do new episodes, but I have not had the time to actually do any of that kind of stuff. Probably the next episode, my guess, would be actually an oddball episode, because I have gone through, thanks to Justin Richard and Matthew Hardesty, reminding me of their existence, I've gone back and have picked up all these different variants of the film adaptations for the original trilogy as comics and as novels that actually use the covers from the Faces THX Remastered Edition 1995 VHS and Laserdisc releases. So I figure they're kind of tangentially related, using the art primarily designed for the home video release, but uses to kind of promote these adaptations. The novels are still on the way. Both versions, as far as I know, there's only 2 of the slip-cased comic sets and the 3 individual comics, all with different variations of these same covers. The comics are in my hands, the novels are still on the way. So once they arrive, I'll be able to record maybe this upcoming weekend. Kind of depends on how things go after Thanksgiving. Then beyond that, I will say that I do have some more of those top whatever lists coming for Star Wars stuff. I think that probably what's going to happen is I'm going to hold off at least a week. I may even record it next weekend, but I want to wait until Andor Season 1 is over, because the live action countdown type thing is going to address like by season, probably, because there's just not a lot of live action series for Star Wars yet. So probably by like Mandalorian Season 1, Season 2, and so on. Andor Season 1, Mandalorian, or Book of Boba Fett Season 1, and so on. So I plan to have more of those coming up soon. They just haven't been recorded yet, because the next one I really want to push out, if it's not the animated one, it's going to be the one on live action series. And I really want to wait until Andor is over to be able to make a discerning judgment, a clear judgment, an accurate judgment of Season 1 of Andor compared to the rest. I'm pretty sure I know exactly where it's going to be in my top whatever list, but I want to see the last episode to sort of confirm that. Now, before we go, 3 other things to mention. I will do this very, very quickly. When it comes to my written works, as I mentioned in a previous episode, the Wars novellas that I wrote about a decade ago to help sort of relaunch the fiction line for the Wars franchise coming out of Decipher Inc., that had the card game way back in the day, had the role-playing game back in the day from Mongoose Publishing. The novellas that I wrote way back when for the Wars, the Battle of Phobos line are being reprinted now that the license for those books have gone to Archbeetle Press. Essentially, they're putting out reprints of the collected editions from the Battle of Phobos line from Wars under the new name for Wars fiction, War Song, which makes it just easier to search pretty much anywhere. Even searching like Wars Decipher usually was like the Decipher Star Wars card game, not the Wars card game when you try to search for it here. And at this point, all of my stuff has indeed been reprinted. So we have War Song, the Battle of Phobos Preludes. This includes my story Healers and Hunters. If you already happen to have a copy of Healers and Hunters, but not the other 2 stories from that layer of the Battle of Phobos, might be an interesting one to pick up. Or if you already even have Preludes, so you have the 3 main stories in here, there are some new stories being added into these. Short ones, but new content being added in for the Wars universe into these new printings. Available as paperback and Kindle. This one here, again, is the one that has my first one in it. Okay, so that one saw print a while back. The new thing is this. The second of these is now in print again. War Song, the Battle of Phobos Streti, which includes my story On Red Soil, my favorite of the 2 that I wrote, partly because by then we'd already established some backstory for the individual characters that are at the heart of both of my stories back in the previous one here. But Streti is out now. You can find it on Amazon as a Kindle copy for I think it's like $5, or you can get a print copy for I think it's $18, because nice thick trade paperback type thing here. So if you're into Wars, it's a great time to be able to pick those up and get some new material with it. If you are not yet into Wars, this is a good place to jump into it, starting with Preludes. And then going into Streti. They are soon going to release the 3rd of these, which includes the final stories in each of the storylines for the Battle of Phobos, each of the faction storylines, which has never seen print before, in the near future to finish this out. Now, I do not have a story among those final 3. I just wrote the first 2 for the Earther side, so my stuff is back in print. The series as a whole is still growing. I hope to someday write for it again if I ever get a chance to do my own homework, reread everything, and get my head back into the Wars mindset to be able to write. I'd love to tell the story of how Rogue and Hallard and Gerald and Cray met, perhaps, or something like that, but gotta have the time in the day to do it. Also, last time, I believe, I mentioned that I was interviewed about Star Wars home video stuff for a podcast called The Trash Compactor. That is Trash Compactor, a Star Wars podcast, which you can find at trashcompod, trashcompod.com. We had recorded basically on the 16th of October going into the 17th because I was hitting my birthday as we finished recording. What I did not recognize was what their schedule looked like for releases. So I think I mentioned at the time that it would be out soon. Actually, my episode is the next one up as of right now. But just check out trashcompod.com. Have a chance to hear me discussing Star Wars on video stuff in an interview format where I was the one being interviewed instead of the one doing the interview, which is an unusual thing for me when it comes to podcasting, even since I retired. And then shortly after recording that one, right before, I believe it was Halloween in the US, I actually had a chance to record also with Adam P. O'Brien. Solidarity for middle initial P, right? Adam and I recorded an episode of his Lethal Mullet podcast talking about general Star Wars stuff, stuff like Andor and whatnot. So pretty cool little interview there as well. Had a lot of fun doing that one, just as I did for Trash Compactor. You can find that one coming up, I believe, the week of Thanksgiving. I believe it'll be like Tuesday or Wednesday. He's in Australia, so it'll be a slightly different time zone thing. So Tuesday or Wednesday, I believe. You'll be able to find that among other places at Lethal Mullet, mullet like the hair, M-U-L-L-E-T, Lethal Mullet Network.podbean.com. I will put, of course, the links to both of those down on the bottom here. Now, for those who follow that show on Facebook, they did a little quick video clip from our interview, and when they did, the number on the episode was listed as 202. That was incorrect. My episode of Lethal Mullet will actually be episode 203. Okay, so 203. It's not up yet, but will be in a matter of days here. So be sure to check both those out. Kind of fun stuff to listen to, hopefully. I really had a good time with both of those guys being able to actually sort of get back into doing sort of an audio style interview where I didn't have to prepare or edit anything. I just had to show up and talk. That's totally my thing, right? Anyway, with that, we'll wrap up this update. Nothing else really to speak of. Again, busy time. My hope is to get some practical stuff done here, preparation-wise and whatnot, during Thanksgiving break. And then we have 3 weeks back of school, and then a 2-week Christmas break or semester break to hopefully get more stuff done before we're right back into the mess in January, diving into a second term and a lot of things like meet the teacher calls and whatnot that'll make it a pretty heavy January. But hopefully a lot of productivity coming here near the end of November, and then even more at the end of December. I hope. We shall see. But with that, thank you very much for your interest in these projects. And again, check out the Patreon if you want to. It is ending soon, so it gives you a chance to still check out some stuff. Be sure to check out those podcast episodes. And of course, check out the War Song books. And while you're at it, you can check out my Greater Good and Echoes or a Saga on Home Video all over there on Amazon as well. Thanks all. Have a good Thanksgiving if you're in the U.S. And I will catch you in a month closer to Christmas time. Thanks.